you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet.
Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers.
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
And how are we doing out there all across the great land known as the United States of America and around the world? Nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated. You are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I am your host, John Matthews, mad prophet of the airways, along with my co-host, Joe Hakos. And we are here to educate, inform, and engage you, our listening audience, on the politics of religion and the religion of politics. And we're glad to have you with us this great Cinco de Mayo out there, in honor of all the illegal immigrants that are sitting out on their lawn right now, drinking Coronas and hitting piñatas, probably piñatas of Donald Trump. But hey, Cinco de Mayo, have a good one. Let's hope this is your last one here if you're here illegally. How's that? How's that for a partying shot? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So how are you doing tonight, Joe?
I'm glad to be here, John. Glad everybody's out there. Appreciate everybody tuning in and finding us on this big worldwide web of madness.
Well, we have. I'm not real sure what we're going to do today. I mean, I have a conglomeration of notes, things that I've been kind of picking up throughout the day. I've been on the road most of the day today, so I didn't have a whole lot of time to actually organize. But I think the general. I don't know that we're going to be that much off the track with anybody else because I think people are still trying to figure out what happened the other night.
Well, everybody was taken by surprise that the Cruz dropped out or suspended his campaign. I think they're even more surprised by Kasich, though.
Yeah, I agree. I really expected him to hang in there. Of course. We also know that he left a little asterisk on that, though. He made everybody well aware he's still looking towards a contested convention. So, and I think they probably all are. I mean, they all suspended their campaigns, which allows them to keep their delegates. And who knows what kind of wheeling and dealing will go on from that point. Okay, but anyway. Yeah, I think I was really, I'll tell you what I was shocked about more than anything so far. This morning on CBS News, my wife watches it early in the morning. I get up early and have things that I have to get done as far as loading the other archives of other shows on our Roar network and stuff like that. And so she turns on the Channel 2 news at about, 7:30 or something like that. And they were actually talking about news. Normally, CBS Morning News is more like Access Hollywood. They talk about all this irrelevant stuff, who's got the newest album out. They spent almost a whole show a couple of days ago on Prince, that kind of stuff. And lo and behold, they were actually talking, and the surprise in Charlie Rose's face that Trump was now the presumptive nominee, and not only that Cruz had backed out and Kasich had backed out. And it was almost like watching three deers in a headlight at times. Somebody would say something, and there'd be this dead air. It's like nobody knew what to say. It's like, where's my teleprompter when I need it?
It took away their ratings candy. Then.
Yeah. I mean, I actually have to think about what I'm going to say here, and I don't know what to do. That kind of thing. The other reporter, and there's two of them. I don't know what the white girl's name is, but the black girl's name is Gail Storm. And this woman is a stereotypical Michelle Obama type. Whenever I see her, that's what I think of. I think this could be her sister. The way they look, the way they act,
Is she angry?
Yeah, oh, yeah. And it's like, well, there's not a whole lot for them to be angry about because a lot of the stuff they report are these little feel-good, fuzzy, warm kind of stuff, And when they do report on real news, they turn it into something other than news. It's more about their feelings. It's always about the feelings. Well, I feel this and I feel that. And I'm like, who the hell cares? You're not paid to feel. You're paid to sit there and read your freaking teleprompter. All right? That's what you're supposed to be doing. So, so it was that kind of surprised me that they actually tried to have an intelligent conversation as to what was happening in the race. They were even more surprised that Bernie Sanders beat Clinton in Indiana. Which, I think I'm starting to identify Bernie Sanders as the hangnail of the DNC. You just can't get rid of this guy without the pain,
Yeah, well, he is their Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, he identifies on the left what we have on the right, that disgruntled, disenfranchised, irritated, silent majority that has, awakened like a sleeping giant. They're still rubbing the sleep out of their eyes. They still don't figure out. They still can't figure out what's going on. That Trump to me is kind of like I've been referring to him off and on. I got all these little names I have for people. I call him the Great Orange Hope, or the Pied Piper of populism. And everybody he plays his pipe, and everybody's just going to follow him off the cliff. We'll all be united as we hit the ground together.
Yeah, I find that fairly amusing to think that you could go out and actually, you get called names. I understand that a campaign you call people names or something like that, but to do it every time and then to subscribe to things, stories that aren't even factual. Like the last one that he did was Cruz's dad was with Lee Harvey Oswald. I'm just boggles my mind. But then to turn around and then within 3 hours of your quote unquote victory, hey, we must all get together. Sorry about all the name calling and all the other dirty tricks we did. So hey, don't worry about that. We really didn't mean it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really it boggles you to go, hey, come on now.
Well, now that we're at this point, I certainly hope that if Trump is really sincere about this is all politics, the non-politician played politics and pulled it off, this kind of thing. I really do hope that this hasn't tainted his insight as to perhaps putting Ted Cruz on the bench. I would love to see that. I heard people out there floating that he wants Trey Gowdy as his attorney general.
No.
And I'm thinking, well, yeah, the guy that endorsed Marco Rubio, that's who we want sitting on the attorney general seat. Or if Chris Christie doesn't get the VP slot, they're talking, well, maybe Christie will be the attorney general. I don't see that as working either, but Trey Gowdy, to me, lost a lot of credibility when he endorsed Marco Rubio. I just kind of like, okay, never mind.
You're part of the cabal there in DC. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So how did the news turn out? Did it turn out to be a good segment, or was it just so unnatural for them? It just fell flat? Because there is some other news out there. I mean, Guccifer, the hacker, he said he was playing all in Hillary Clinton's server. And her email and everything. Yeah,
when we get back from break, I wanted you to talk about that because that is I'm very vague on that. I'm very vague as to what was going on. But to answer your question about the news spot on CBS, the reporters were, like I said, they were lost. They were out of touch. Even Charlie Rose was just he was just like a bobblehead doll. But the gentleman they had there talking, the analyst, was spot on. He didn't miss a step. He's like, this is what's been going down for a while. The establishments have not been watching this, and now, they're looking at some real problems here, and the fact that this general election is just going to be dirty, filthy, muddy beyond comparison, which I think you can say without too much doubt that that's what's going to come down the pipe here. Immediately yesterday, Chris Matthews is already taking heat for objectifying Melania Trump. I guess he was interviewing her and made some comments about her looks or something, probably trying to flatter her. But in doing so, ended up doing what they always accuse us of doing, sounding sexist, that kind of thing. So anyway, well, we'll just dance through the day here and see. But when we get back, I do want Joe to talk about this, because this hacker thing, I wonder how much, if any of this will come up in the revelations given to us by the FBI. Do they know about this? Have they looked at it? Are we going to hear anything about it in terms, not just from the media spin, but are we going to hear from law enforcement as to whether or not she was hacked? And that would be real interesting, wouldn't it? We got to go to a break. When we come back, we'll continue right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first, and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
We're back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk. From Real Conservatives, I'm your host, John Matthews, along with my co-host and partner in crime, Joe Hakos. And, I was just looking over this article during the break here. As I said, I was out on the road today, and a lot of stuff I'm doing here, I'm just going from the hip here. I'm shooting from the hip. And I'm looking at this email article that Joe sent me yesterday. And it's from Fox News. Romanian hacker Guccifer. I breached Clinton server. It was easy. And the first thing that strikes me is the response from the Clinton campaign.
Yes, I like that. Isn't it awesome?
We're talking about templates. Talk about templates. And this is going to be the spin. This is going to be the spin from the Clinton camp. This guy's a criminal. What credibility does he have? This coming from a criminal, it's got
to understand. He is, he was talking about this while he's in a jail cell. So I understand what they're saying. But it's kind of like, okay, that doesn't mean it's not true.
Right. Well, his remark when he was asked about that, the authenticity of what he's saying, he says, "Well, you guys got my archives. Go in there and look for yourself."
Yeah, and that's pretty absolutely, because what he did wasn't all that difficult. He said, and as he describes it, it's really not all that difficult, because they weren't really all that savvy about this email thing. I mean, let's remember, she had 30,000 emails she deleted, but when the State Department says there was 2,200 emails now deemed classified, and there's at least 22 top secret or above.
It's kind of funny just to listen to the guy talk. I'm not hearing his voice, but you can kind of catch the tone in the quotes. And this dude it sounds like just some laid back geek that just say, let me see if I can do this. He apparently had no knowledge how to do before, figured out how to do it. Boy, how condemning is that? When I'm sometimes trying to figure out how to turn my iPad on. And this guy is out there learning how to hack and being able to get into IP addresses, identify them. He even mentions in here Colin Powell's IP. That would be interesting. To see what came out of that. But the fact that he broke in, I kind of look at this. He says he came in through Blumenthal's IP address.
Yeah, well, he went to the email, looked at the headers and everything, the email's composition of it, besides the textual part, and he just found where the email originated from, basically.
Well, this is what when I hear stuff like this. And I think, we know that Blumenthal was a very sore spot with Barack Obama, so much so that he was not allowed to come on and serve as staff when she was head of the State Department or anything else. He was kind of on the X list. He wasn't allowed. He wasn't supposed to be involved. And then we find out, emails going back and forth, not only dealing with the Clinton Foundation, but also with Benghazi. She was getting firsthand information about Benghazi from this guy.
Quote-unquote intelligence from people that Sidney Blumenthal was in contact with, these higher officials in Libya, Egypt, and in the entire region, actually.
Yeah, so, you begin to wonder. You begin to wonder if maybe somewhere in the Obama administration there's not somebody sitting there at the decision-making point, somebody like Valerie Jarrett or somebody like that going, you know what, this is all because of Hillary's relationship with Blumenthal. They got to find a hitman. They got to find somebody to blame it on, a scapegoat.
Oh yes.
And so if they get riled about it and say, you know what, she knew that he was on the don't go list, and she went ahead and went. And not only that, but they were exchanging intelligence and everything else. I wouldn't be surprised if somehow, at least underhandedly or covertly, Obama doesn't allow her, or does something to allow her to get implicated to a degree where maybe an indictment comes down. Now, I certainly don't believe Obama would do that in terms of indictment, but I think he would assist the court of public opinion by allowing things to get leaked and stuff like that in order to start making it look bad. Because I floated this idea yesterday just haphazardly, and I was being funny about it. I was trying to be funny about it, about her being the Manchurian Candidate. But the vice versa. In the movie I've referred to often here, the Manchurian Candidate, there is the Manchurian Candidate is a congressman, and he is running on the ticket as vice president. And the plan is that once the election is over, the president would be assassinated, which would move him into the presidency. And I'm wondering if it isn't the reverse, if we have somebody like Julian Castro sitting there in the position of the Manchurian Candidate, and they'll use Hillary to get elected, but once she's in, something's going to happen to take her out. Now, I'm not saying they would assassinate her. I'm saying the indictment comes down or something like that. There's two indictments here we're looking at. The indictment for espionage, what they're saying, should come out before the Democrats have their convention, which would be just appalling in terms of what would that convention look like, Joe?
It's already going to look like it's already going to be very interesting. It's going to be what Bernie's saying is going to be. It's going to be he's going to make it interesting because of the process.
Yeah, I mean,
the Democrats are using.
If they get to the convention and something like this comes down, how could they possibly deny Bernie the nomination?
Well, they denied God.
Well, yeah, I know. Yeah, they regulate the sun, so it's like okay, but I mean they couldn't do it. I mean they would have to just give total disregard for what the voters want, and just say no, we're just not going to do it. We're just not going to allow it. I mean. A Bernie Sanders versus a Donald Trump, I can't even envision that. I don't even know what that would be like.
I can't envision Bernie Sanders against, Alfred E. Newman, for crying out loud. I mean, because, let's face it, Bernie's a self-admitted socialist communist. He's absolutely against anything that our nation was founded on.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's...
But it's
what a free people, and so he has the right to go ahead and run. But geez, for crying out loud, have we gone that far into the abyss?
The fact that he's still even in this thing answers your question. Of course, we're into the abyss.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, everybody wants. Hey, let's get back to this. The Mr. Lazar.
Yeah. I didn't mean to go off.
No, the hacker friend. You say he had some skills. I mean, a reason why he was. Is being dealt with for cyber crimes is because he's using a proxy server in Russia, and it takes a little bit of skill to make that kind of things happen, to try to hide your tracks and everything else. So he wasn't completely ignorant or just a babe in the woods or anything like that. He kind of had an idea what he's doing, and I love how the State Department IT staffer. That set up Hillary's server and everything. Brian Pajanlo or whatever. Pajanlo.
Uh-huh.
I love what he's there because they were asking him, what do you think about it? And he's like, well, the evidence you can find on Guccifer's archives, as far as I can remember, because they were wondering, is it plausible? Well, yeah, it's plausible. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, it's plausible. That's the whole problem with it. It's very plausible.
Yeah, now this other guy that we're talking about here, the guy that set up the server itself, Brian Pagliano, I think is Brian Pagliano, and I keep hearing this in the media that he's been granted immunity
That's
and
correct.
that he's cooperating with the officials. And then I turn right around and I hear stories out there saying he has once again stood on his Fifth Amendment and says, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to do anything. I wonder which one of these two are true. Which one of these statements are true?
I don't think we're really going to find out until something actually happens. Now, have they deposed any of Hillary's staffers, i.e., Uma or Valerie or Cheryl Mills?
From what I understand, they have already taken depositions from Huma Abedin. I don't know where they're at with Cheryl Mills.
Anthony Weiner's wife, yes.
The latest I heard, this was a few days ago, Judge Napolitano on Fox News kind of summed things up and said something along the lines of everybody that has been supposed to testify or give depositions have, and the next one in the line is going to be Hillary herself. So if that's true, then that's what we're sitting at here, and that's why he was saying after making those statements, we expect to hear something in terms of a recommendation from the FBI sometime around the convention. So there was a lot of big flack out there about, well, are they going to do this before the convention or after the convention? What's it going to do to the convention and this, that, and the other? And of course, the Attorney General came out, Loretta Lynch came out and said, we're not going to set a deadline on it because that would screw up the investigation. It would taint it. It would not, it wouldn't be a pure investigation as if it is, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. As if it is a pure investigation. If it had been a Republican, yeah, I'm pretty sure, especially a Republican presidential candidate. I'm thinking they would have probably moved a whole lot quicker on this.
Yeah, I believe that absolutely. We'd be sitting here right now, not even talking about anybody wanting to run for the Republican nomination. It would be so tainted and so stinky. Nobody'd even want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. So it remains to be seen here, but. In my mind, I was thinking last night, this thing with the Trump deal, okay, he's the presumptive nominee now, and we're just going to have to live with it and figure out, or hope and pray that he does at least half of what he says he's going to do. But on the left, I think it kind of puts things in a different light that perhaps the left is a little bit more screwed up than us. We're fighting over policies. They're fighting over criminal activity.
That could be fighting over criminal activity. Really, it depends on the FBI chief if he's going to actually do what people say he would do. If he's got the evidence and he recommends it, then they said he's going to do it. So we'll have to see if Comey's actually going to make that happen.
Well, I can't imagine this guy. My understanding, we had Audrey Russo on yesterday, and she's made the comment that there is no love lost between the head of the FBI and the Clintons, and that's always an indicator. If somebody has a chance to take a stab at these guys, they will. I mean, the Clintons, they're very influential throughout Washington, but I don't think they're any more liked than Ted Cruz is in terms of the people that have to deal with them. I mean, you're talking about some pretty heartless people.
Absolutely.
I'm still amazed at the list that somebody sent me a long time ago, years ago, and I have it someplace. I filed it someplace of the number of Secret Service agents that have died that served under the Clinton administration that are now dead. There's something like 17 or 18 of them have died from under less than normal circumstances. That's a big number. Social Security agents, you don't hear about Social Security agents getting taken out in the line of duty, but they've had at least 17 of them that were involved in the Clinton administration and after have met untimely deaths, and it makes you wonder. I mean, they can't all be dying from chugging tequila down in Colombia. So
while their hookers are coming up to their rooms.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of suspicious. I've always wondered about the Vince. What was the one girl's name? McDougal, I think. One of the girls who apparently had committed suicide with a bullet to the back of her head.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to do.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to do that. That kind of stuff. I don't discount people like this because, like I said, these people all come up through this Chicago machine, and that when you think Chicago, what do you think of? The syndicate. That's how they do business. That's how they conduct business. When Obama first got elected, I had two guys on my show that were tied in. One of them went to the church that Obama went to and came on my show and talked about, the guy's name was Ron Jones, I believe. He was the head of the worship team at the Trinity, I think they were called, the church of Jeremiah Wright.
Okay.
And he said that him and Barack Obama were actually lovers. And this guy died. They found him with a bullet in the back of his head, and he was executed. And it had to do with Larry Sinclair, who came out, wrote a book about Weekend Tryst with Barack Obama, coke binge someplace when he was supposed to be at some senator conference or something. And and he was talking when he came on. I had him on my show, and he was talking about it, and he mentioned this Ron Jones guy, and lo and behold, we find out that people wanted to talk to him about his relationship with Barack Obama, and the guy ended up dead before anybody got to him. So, I don't put anything past these people. Nothing, absolutely nothing. The power and wealth.
The fact that we live in an age of tyranny.
Yeah. So anyway, we're at the bottom of the break here. We got to take a break here. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go.
Hey, I'll make you a deal. Give me 60 seconds and I'll give you directions to the Fountain of Youth. Okay, I'm joking. Well, kind of joking. No fountains, but youth, I got Nature's Youth and their premier anti-aging product, Nature's Youth RSF. With your sensible diet and exercise plan, Nature's Youth RSF can help you look and feel better. RSF is an all-natural amino acid supplement that supports your body to naturally increase HGH levels without any synthetic hormones. And elevated HGH levels can contribute to increased energy, improved libido, reduced body fat, and improved exercise capacity. Let's be honest. Who doesn't want to look and feel younger? Visit the newly designed website at naturesyouth.com or call 800-333-6923. That's 800-333-6923 and like them on Facebook and you'll be included in contest and exclusive offers. What a deal. Oh, speaking of deals, my time's about up. 800-333-6923 or naturesyouth.com. Who needs a fountain anyway? Call today.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When I had a heart attack at 42, I was not sure what the future held. But a year later, the doctors could find nothing wrong with me and took me off all my medication. What did I do? I took a herbal mixture of garlic, cayenne, and a few other herbs mixed in liquid form. I now call this Extendovite. I would have never believed that a few simple herbs could actually change my life like they did. Now it's your turn to see what the powers of garlic and cayenne can do for you. For only $69.95 plus shipping and handling for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid, you too can begin on your path to better health. For more information, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
I've owned my company for 14 years now, and I can tell you that payroll is a 4-letter word. I hate doing it. It eats up hours I don't have, and it costs me money I could be saving. But my accountant's too expensive, and I'm not sure who to call, but I know I need help.
We're Paychex, and we take all the hassles out of small business payroll. We save you time and money. It's easy. Call, fax, or give us your payroll information securely online, and we take care of the rest. We calculate the correct taxes, manage payments and direct deposits. We even send out your checks. Payroll doesn't need to be a 4-letter word anymore. We're so sure that we can save you time and money that we'll give you a month's payroll free. Just for calling 877-663-3830. Get 1 month's payroll for free. Call Paychex right now. 877-663-3830. That's 877-663-3830.
Do you use the blue pill to charge your sex life? Have you been thinking about trying the blue pill? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 a pill for the other pills, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pill delivers the exact same results for less than $3. We'll do the math for you. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. Want more? We'll give you 40 blue pills or 40 yellow pills for $99 and add 4 more pills free. You save more than $500. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know what to do next. You need to call and get your 44 pills for just $99. Stop overpaying for the other blue pills. Call us and start saving a ton of money for the exact same results. Ordering is fast and easy with your pills delivered to your door in a non-marked package. 800-814-5188. 800-814-5188. 800-814-5188. That's 800-814-5188.
Hey, Bugsy, you hear the news about Vinny?
Yeah, it's a real shame he owed money to the IRS and they finally cut up with him.
Just like Al Capone.
If the IRS can get to Capone, imagine what they can do to little old Vinny, huh?
Poor cat, he was on top of the world, then bada boom, bada bing.
What Vinny needs now is an offer he can't refuse.
Hey, you got a tax problem? Does the IRS claim you owe them a bunch of dough? They can get you too. So call the tax relief line now and learn if you qualify to negotiate your $10,000 plus IRS tax debt for up to a 75% savings. Don't be like Al or Vinny and get busted. Make this free call now. Learn how you may be able to pay the IRS less.
Call now. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474.
Hey, we're back. The Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, and we're glad to have you with us tonight. Hey, I want to dance into an area here that I'm actually probably going to sound kind of green on because, as I said, I'm looking at this on the fly. This was something that I saw late last night, and I didn't really get a chance to really look at it in depth, but I think it's worth talking about because what I want to talk about, I don't really have to know the context of the actual case that we're going to talk about here. It's another case heard by the Supreme Court, and I'm looking at an article written by Harry Snyder over at The Hill. The title of the article is called Supreme Court Condones Pay-to-Play Politics as Government as Usual. And apparently what this case is about some type of level of bribery. The charges are being made of bribery in the terms of, we've often heard about politicians taking special gifts and stuff like that. Sometimes in campaigns, people take money and use it for the wrong reason, for the wrong purpose, or something like that, that kind of thing. And there's always these investigations and committee hearings, and some people end up in court over it. Some people end up losing their jobs over it. When we talk about Governor Bob McDonnell, or you remember him, that was a big public thing about that.
Yeah, he was the governor of Virginia.
Yeah, in Virginia, the couple accepted $140,000 in gifts and loans. And dietary supplement from dietary supplement maker Star Scientific in exchange for a product promotion or something like that, which actually I don't know how that could be a crime because I know that people do that. We do it in radio. It's called trade. They give you something and then you advertise their product for doing that. When you hear Sean Hannity talk about his great Sleep Number bed, or the great pillow that he has now, My Pillow, whatever that's called. That he doesn't buy that bed. He didn't buy that bed. And he didn't buy the pillow. He was given those things by the sponsor, and he goes out and talks about how great they are. That kind of thing. But apparently, under the Hobbs Act, this Governor McDonnell ended up doing some time. But apparently, the details of this case is, or the complaint of this writer, is that the Supreme Court is not doing anything to stop bribery and corruption within the political system, especially with lawmakers. Okay, now like I said, I don't need to know all the details in it, but what it keeps rising up inside of me is, where did it become the Supreme Court's responsibility to do that?
Well, there was an appeal made, and they don't. Yeah, exactly, and they didn't have to take this.
Yeah, I mean the function
involved in it to begin with.
Yeah, the function of the Supreme Court is to determine constitutionality of past legislation. Okay, and that is really their job description. If you look at what the Supreme Court was created for, it wasn't to hear every freaking case from some disgruntled citizen that was pissed off about being ruled against in a lower court. They didn't get what they wanted. That kind of thing. That isn't supposed to be what the Supreme Court is for. The Supreme Court is supposed to be, if a state passes a law, like this whole thing with same-sex marriage. The idea here was what we say. A state comes out and says, we want to define marriage between a man and a woman in our state constitution. Okay? So somebody says, well, that's not constitutional. And so they think, I'm going to take it through the lower courts, and the lower courts do whatever they do. Let's talk about Proposition 8. That's what happened out here in California. They passed a constitutional amendment saying marriage between a man and a woman. The lower courts kept overturning it. It finally worked its way up into the Supreme Court, who refused to hear it. But then when we talk about something like this, bribery charges, that you would think that's something that's supposed to be handled within Congress itself, because it was dealing with congressional people. Am I right?
Well, I was dealing with the governor of Virginia, but but it was a politician. And the thing is the pay for play. The reason why it's different than the Hannity thing you brought up or whatever is because these people can affect the their entire state's population's lives, depending on what they do with the pay for play. Whatever they're dealing with. They could make it so only one contractor in the state gets the highway contracts, and it has builds all the roads for the state or some kind of crap. I'm just pulling that out of there, but it does it can affect the entire the people. So
yeah. Well, apparently,
anyway, so this is they're saying that what McConnell did, the Supreme Court saying basically what McConnell did is not unusual.
Right. And I would think in line with that, somewhere he should have injected somewhere in their verbiage that, and it's not the Supreme Court's place to determine whether somebody in government is doing something wrong in terms of bribery and things like that. That should be handled. This governor should have been recalled by a state.
He was. He was, and he ended up going to jail for it.
Okay, and
his wife.
So and that's the way it should have worked, and that's where it should have ended.
Yeah, exactly. So why did this Supreme Court decide that this had to be on their docket? Why did they have to take this particular case, this political case? Now it's turned into politics. It's going to be there because they're going to say that. The Citizens United is just like this, how that's going to work out.
Yeah, well, now the accusation being made by this particular writer, if I'm reading this right, is the fact that in this case against Governor McDonnell out there, that Justice Stephen Breyer should have recused himself from the case because of the fact that he had recused himself in the past when he was at state level court. When he was judged on the state level, he had recused himself from a case of somebody who had done him some favors.
Yeah,
and so
let's understand what this is. Just like the Clinton campaign was trying to discredit the hacker from Romania that's serving time for cyber crimes. I love this. Harry Snyder is a consumer advocate and lecturer at the University of California, Berkeley School of Public Health. He's a former director of the West Coast Regional Office of Consumers Union and a former member of the California Commission on Corporate Governance.
Yeah, so he's kind of like, what was that guy that got really famous for being an advocate, a consumer advocate? I can't remember his name. Huh?
Ralph Nader?
Ralph Nader, yeah, who, by the way, was one of the organizations that Barack Obama worked for as a pro bono attorney. But But it's not so much what this guy is saying. It's that why is he even saying it? It's like, what does the Supreme Court have to do with issues of political corruption, especially at the state level? You know, isn't that's something that should have been handled by state legislators, as we know it was, but it should not have been allowed to be appealed up to the Supreme Court. No, the Supreme Court should have just said that this isn't our business.
Well, I think we can find out what his ultimate goal was, and he says it in his piece here. Unless we have the source and implement measures of accountability in the Supreme Court, advocates in the legal and government fields have been calling for this reform for decades, and twice congressional representatives have tried to pass the Supreme Court Ethics Act.
Yeah. Now, you know.
So basically, then you're getting into constitutionality.
Right. Because I'm not against holding judges at any level accountable for their own corruption, acts of corruption and everything. I think we should be able to recall judges. It shouldn't, in my opinion, it should not be lifetime appointments. It should be based on. I think somebody coming into the office of president should have a little bit more leeway as to who's going to be on the bench if somebody is showing that they can't objectively look at something. And now I know that would also be subject to partisanship and bias and everything else. But the problem that we put people like Ginsburg, people like this, who it's all the woman can do to stay awake, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Well, if I recall, I think Thomas Jefferson fired the entire court.
Yeah. Well, there should be some kind of recourse that make these people a little bit more concerned about doing their job the way they're supposed to do it.
That's absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
But to have the criminals be able to pass a law so there is no accountability on them,
right,
is not the way to do it.
No, because that you open the door and you allow rulings and opinions to come down from the court based on their feelings rather than the constitutionality of it.
Then you have Congress going, the Supreme Court makes a ruling on a law that they say is unconstitutional, and then they get hauled in for this ethics violation crap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I can see the Supreme Court should be making rulings on laws that Congress passes,
exactly.
But they should not be dealing with these issues here.
Yeah,
that to me was already resolved at the level it should have been resolved at the state level. This governor was recalled. He was found guilty. He was put in jail. End of subject. It should never have made it up to the Supreme Court. And I guess that's the point I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. This should not be sitting up in D.C. at all.
No.
This was already taken care of.
Yeah.
Sorry, Gov. You got busted. They convicted you. Do your time and move along. But apparently, no, we can't have that. But again, the Supreme Court didn't have to take this case. They only take the cases they want to take.
Right. And very few of them are actually cases that constitutionally they should be even involved in.
Yeah, that's the problem now.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. We got to take a break here. We'll be back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. Hey, we're back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk. From Real Conservatives, I'm your host, John Matthews, along with my co-host, Joe Hakos. You know, along with this line of just talking about corruption in general here, in terms of whether or not some of these cases should be going up before the Supreme Court, like I think one of the best examples I heard from a commentator a couple years ago, there was, I believe, something that had to do with flag burning. Somebody was burning the American flag or something, and they wanted to take the case to the Supreme Court. Does somebody have the right to burn the American flag? And the commentator was just spot on the way he answered it. Why is the Supreme Court even looking at this? It's not the Supreme Court's determination. This is something, you know, there are certainly laws about...
There's a U.S. code for it already.
Yeah, there is a law about it, and there is a code, and there are terms and conditions under which you would burn an American flag. Okay, if it's old and tattered,
yes.
You know, you just don't throw it away, you burn it.
Well, you do it ceremoniously.
Yeah, but because somebody on the left wanted to defend this person's right to do that, it ends up going through the courts, where it should have been, you know, nipped in the bud down here. Hey, this is what the law says. If you don't like the law, then you do something to try to change it. You go through the ratification process or whatever it is you have to do. But until such time as that law is changed, it's like immigration. Until such time that the law is changed to say anybody can come in here for any reason they want, until that happens, you should be adhering to the law as it stands on the books. And so this
well, you know, not if you're in the Obama administration.
No, well, not if you're a liberal. I mean,
if you disagree with the law, you get to do whatever you want, and you make them take you to court.
Right, because there's a humanitarian side of this. There's the socioeconomic justice issue, not the constitutionality of the law. And, you know, I'm all for if you can get a big enough majority in the country to say, hey, we want to change something, you know, we want to add an amendment, we want to eliminate an amendment, we want to ratify something, we want to change something, and you go through the process of doing it as established by the Constitution, hey, go for it. You know, that's what democracy and republicanism is about.
Yeah, but we're too damn lazy to do it that way.
Yeah, and we got to have it now. The Obama credo, got to do it now, got to do it now. It's been too long going this way. It's wrong.
It's a crisis now. It's a crisis.
Yeah, and this is the right thing to do, and we need to do it now. You know, that kind of thing. And, you know, it fits the sitcom mentality of most American people out there today that can't hold their attention span is about as long as an MTV video, and they don't want to be distracted, and they don't want to be bored, you know, with the academic side of a legal argument or anything else, you know. So, you know, it is what it is. But I know I was going somewhere with that. I was going somewhere with that. So, but God knows where that was now.
I can't help you there, John. I don't know where you were going.
Okay. I know what I was going to do. I was going to shift it into, in light of all this, in light of all the dysfunction that's going on. Here's what it is. I was reading this article yesterday, and there was someone in this article that we were just talking about with the Supreme Court. That's what caught my attention to it here. The comment that the guy makes here, let me see if I can find it here real quick here. He talks about the fact that the Supreme Court only has a 46% approval rating, something like that. And I'm thinking, well, that's pretty damn good. That's more than Barack Obama and about 5 times more in Congress. But that was his basis for his argument, that there needs to be some kind of special way of checking the Supreme Court justices and their honesty and their integrity, is because their popularity
Because they're not popular.
Yeah, because they're not popular. Their favorability ratings are low. And
well, that's the misconception of we're a democracy, because that's what a democracy would do.
Yeah, a democracy would take the rule of the mob and say, oh, yeah, people, thumbs down, slash their throat, that kind of thing. And that's what caught my attention. Here it is, the very last line of this. With the public approval of the Supreme Court at a historic low of 43%, I'm clearly not the one who feels the Supreme Court cannot be trusted. I'm clearly not the only one who feels the Supreme Court cannot be trusted to police themselves. And it's time we see some order and accountability. I would not argue with that statement, but the motive behind him making it brings me pause.
A little suspect, yes.
Yeah, because everything else leading up to that is pretty much just liberal doublespeak and garbage.
Well, he is at Berkeley,
Yeah, Berkeley. Yeah, the breeding ground. I think that Berkeley is the prototype of the breeding ground of liberalism. I mean, I remember back here. I mean, even as a teenager, I remember Berkeley was the place everybody looked at out here in California as this is where all the crazies lived. This is where Governor Moonbeam hung out at. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising there, but in line with that, and in line with what happened here with the primary on what was it? What day is this today? Today's Thursday, right? Tuesday. What happened on Tuesday in Indiana? Boy, it already seems longer than just a couple days, but maybe because I'm so cynical as to what's coming down right now. But this whole idea of the Republicans article that I saw by Jennifer Rubin, who, by the way, is a pretty good writer, even though she writes for the Washington Post. She's somewhat objective when it comes to, she's a conservative there.
Well, we're going to see more of this.
Yeah, and I think she's a little bit more objective than George Will, who has become a complete and total operative for the Republican Party. And she's talking about how the Republicans, how they go about saving the House and Senate, because that's what it is. This email that I mentioned to you, what was it, yesterday or the day before, that Joe sent me, and we were talking about it in terms of everything is about saving their Senate majority. It's not a mention at all about the White House. Nothing about the White House, nothing about McConnell has vowed to support Donald Trump, at least in the public. What they're doing behind the scenes is another story. But everything is about the Senate, keeping the Senate. And that's what we have to be concerned about, because this is where the dirty politics is going to come. I'm going to speculate that much of what comes out of the Hillary Clinton camp when they try to smear Donald Trump during the general election, I bet you 30% of it comes from the Republicans. I bet you they got operatives out there working overtime, trying to figure out what can we feed to the liberal media that will help us ensure that Hillary Clinton gets in the White House. Because I can guarantee you the GOP establishment would rather have Hillary than Trump. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I don't even have to think about it. Well, I
got a couple of things for that. We'll get it after the top of the hour. How's that?
Yeah. Okay, we'll talk about that. And we have Patricia Dixon coming with us. She's a writer for the American Thinker, and she's going to be coming on our second hour. We're going to be talking about, I call it the Gruber theorem, the stupidity of the American voter. She has different words for it, but a very insightful article about the intellect and intelligence level, not in terms of actual intelligence, but potential intelligence, one way or the other. Because I don't think Americans are stupid. I think they're just ignorant, and there's a big difference. Big difference between being stupid and ignorant. Ignorant is a willful act, and that we're going to talk about that when she comes on next hour. So stay with us right here. It's Conservative Syndicate right now. It's time for the Edwards Notebook. We'll be right back.
The more I know, the more I learn. There's so much more to find out. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, for many years, I have defended the Republican Party. One of my best friends told me that there was no real difference between the GOP and the Democrat Party of the Golden Donkey. Of course, I never forgot the first time years ago when I read a quote by American humorist Will Rogers, who said there wasn't a dime's bit of difference between the Democrat and Republican parties. I must say that at one time there was a big difference, but maybe not so much anymore. We all know that for decades, Democrats supported policies that go against governing from the standpoint of, by, and for the people. Now, the Republican establishment and so-called conservative Ted Cruz have banded together to change election rules in some states to take away the vote from we the people. Why? Because wherever primary elections have occurred, Donald Trump has won. His campaign has exposed many of the political rats like those who support illegal immigration into America. Thus, many globalist Republicans like Bill Kristol would prefer Hillary Clinton, also a globalist, over non-globalist Donald Trump, who says that he simply wants to make America great again. And it seems the two are at least becoming one. What a shame. I'm Ron Edwards.
Catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet. Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Akos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
And we're back. Hour 2 coming to you from coast to coast and around the world. And this is the Conservative Syndicate. If you're just tuning in, as I said, nobody listens to this show by accident. So if you're listening to us right now, this is by divine design. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. We're glad to have you with us. And, I'm your host, John Matthews, along with my co-host, Joe Hakos, and partner in crime. What were you going to say, Joe?
No, it is true. It's by divine intervention that you are here tonight, and we're glad that you're here. Pay attention. You might hear something you like.
Yeah. If you don't know what we're talking about, just hang with us for a while, and you soon will. And if you do know what we're talking about, well, that's why you're here. So anyway, let's see. What was I going to say here? I had something that was going to start this segment off. This is our short segment here where we're... I don't know.
About the Republicans trying to save their own hides.
Yeah. Well, along with that line, that's the one side of the story here. The one side of the story is the Republican Party, the GOP, the establishment, whatever word you want to put on it. They're going to go into high gear here trying to save themselves. They've got apparently at least 5 or 6 what they call vulnerable Republicans in states that could go that's why they went left anyway to get elected and stay in office, but they haven't gone far enough left in the minds of some of the constituents in those respective states. And so they're thinking, okay, well, we can turn these states blue. And it really doesn't matter. I mean, I don't think the liberals are going to do enough damage to the House that it's going to make a big, a real amount of difference. The Senate is vulnerable. They lose that 5-seat majority. It is what it is. I'm not so sure that would be a bad thing, and it wouldn't really matter who's in the White House anyway. So... But on the other side of this now, this is another article. I just gave you the article from Jennifer Rubin over at the Washington Post talking about how the Republicans are going to try to save the Senate, what they're going to do. Of course, what they're going to do is dump a ton of money into those vulnerable states. Karl Rove has already committed that money. His super PAC. He said, we're not even looking at the presidency. We're looking at saving the Senate kind of thing. Well, she turns right around and writes another article out there called "The Separation of the Republican Party Begins." And she's talking about the fact that now that Donald Trump is the presumptive nominee for the GOP, that this is now going to really identify and solidify the division that's within the Republican Party. You're basically going to have the hardliners, no Trump no matter what, which is most of the establishment per se. Outside of those that have just said, well, you know what, being an establishment, I can just play both sides of the coin anyway. But there are some hardliners there. And then you're going to have the unifying factor, the conservatives, the extremist conservative faction. That's going to take a little more effort for Trump to try to bring them into unity. The big word now in the Republican Party, of course, is unity.
So how's he going to do that, John? What's the first step in Donald Trump plan to unify the party?
His first step, I don't know if it's going to be his first step, but it will be the most important step is who he picks for VP.
Absolutely. Because if he picks the right person to be his VP, then these people that are going against the party, and it'll be obvious they'd be against the party, and Donald Trump, per se, will be doing that at their own peril then. And remember, we still haven't had any primaries for these congressional elections.
Right.
Those coming up later after the convention. So everybody's all spun up about the presidential stuff. We still have some other elections going on.
Right. And we still have 8 states to go through the primary process with the president.
That's true.
And I don't know I don't know. They may get minimal coverage. Probably the most coverage will be whatever state Trump ends up getting the 1237 from. I know he's less than 100 short now. So,
it'd be pretty damn funny that if all of a sudden Donald Trump doesn't start to win these states and they go to one or the other people that dropped out.
Yeah.
And they're not even campaigning anymore.
Yeah, and that could happen in some of the smaller states. That really could. It really could happen in some of the smaller states. People like that are just gung-ho. This is the way, the small populated states, territories like Montana or Idaho up in those areas are pretty. I know some people that live up there, and they're kind of a different breed of people. They make Texans look a little progressive sometimes. And, if they get it in their mind that, we're just going to be defiant, who knows, who knows? Not that it would be, in the long run, make a big difference. It would just mean there would maybe another state or two before Trump is able to pull in the delegate count that he needs at this point. But I think the interesting side of this thing is that it's going to be I'm not so sure that the media is ready to let go of the conservative faction that they like to attack so much. So I'm not so sure at this point in time that and what Trump's VP's got to be is whether he wants to sell out to the establishment. And so he picks somebody like a Christie or a Marco Rubio or even somebody like Kasich, hoping to get the establishment on his side. Or if he decides, I really want to pull in the conservatives, and he picks somebody a little bit more conservative.
Like Sessions.
Yeah, like Jeff Sessions or somebody like that. So it's going to be a decision on his part. Do I want to pander to the establishment, or do I want to pander to the conservatives? And I'm not real sure how that's going to work out, but We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, we're at a short segment here. We're going to go run a couple of commercials here, and then actually right now it's time for Moments of Madness. And when we come back, we'll have Patricia Dixon with us from American Thinker. So stay with us right here. It's Conservative Syndicate. We will be right back. Today on Moments of Madness. A recent fundraising email from the National Republican Senate Committee, NRSC, composed by House Speaker Paul Ryan and forwarded by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell as if to give it a sense of super double importance, underscores the complete disconnect between the GOP's establishment and those they claim they desire so much to represent. The same can be said of their liberal colleagues on the left. Senator McConnell once again attempts to sway registered voters to support the GOP majority by reciting its far too predictable incantation. Without Republican leadership in both chambers of Congress, conservatives will not be able to pass the policies necessary to get our country back on track and restore the American dream. This entire claim by the NRSC is in and of itself as oxymoronic as it is insulting to any voter who embraces the pure ideological premise of limited government that defines authentic conservatism. Those like McConnell, Ryan, and Lucifer's texting buddy, John Boehner, have long marginalized their base, except when dusting off the mantle of constitutional integrity and voter trust that otherwise lies dormant between layers of false rhetoric, lack of diligence, and outright corruption between election cycles. Truth is, today there's absolutely no representation by any true Republicans any more than there is any evidence of leadership by any conservatives in both chambers of Congress. Here's the madness. While Speaker Ryan and Senate Majority Leader McConnell once again trust the stupidity of the American voter to blindly buy into their recycled template of majority means efficiency, they do so at their own peril. The presumptive nomination of Donald Trump, as well as a hangnail of the DNC, Uncle Bernie, indicates an oncoming tsunami of a dissatisfied, disenfranchised, ticked-off electorate who are not only ready for change, but ready to raise our entire system to the ground through a scorched earth strategy, complete with protests and riots that resurrect memories of the Weather Underground and Black Panther Party. There is indeed a unification of electoral allies forming, but these groups are not user-friendly towards each other or the establishment stalwarts that roam the halls of Congress. Donald Trump has incited a huge segment of the Senate majority that makes up middle America that is so incensed at a government so intent on saving itself at the cost of our republic, they willingly line up for hours to listen to Trump's isolationist doctrine spewed under the brand of Make America Great Again. Even voters who once ranted religiously about vetting candidates that reverently follow principles of conservatism now line up behind their great orange hope, the Pied Piper of populism, prepared to walk off the cliff, completely blind they are embracing one of the main players who has helped orchestrate our current state of demise. In the words of Democratic pollster Mark Malman, Bernie Sanders is posting Kim Jong II-like numbers among young people, and those are people with no connection or loyalty to the Clintons whatsoever. Yet the DNC establishment, like its more than moderate counterpart who only physically occupies the right side of the aisle, also believe this demographic will eventually fall into line next to their already marginalized minorities, soccer moms, and Hollywood celebrities. The leftist establishment is just as oblivious to the reality. The dumbed-down collective they created over decades of pandering shows every indication the next generation is ready and willing to embrace Uncle Bernie's idiocracy in exchange for taxpayer-subsidized beer bongs and contraception stocked in transgender bathrooms throughout the safe spaces that now identify America's public education system. Yes, the disconnect between both establishment and the electorate they claim they represent is as obvious as an Obama photoshopped birth certificate to the discerning eye. It reminds me of the conversation between teacher Richard Vernon, played by Paul Gleason, and janitor Carl, John Capellos, in The Breakfast Club.
Hey, Carl, you think I give one rat's ass what these kids think? I said, you think about this. When you get old, these kids, when I get old, they're going to be running the country. Now, this is the thought that wakes me up in the middle of the night. That when I get older, these kids are going to take care of me. I wouldn't count on it.
To echo Carl's observation, neither should we. Yes, there is change in the air. We the people sense it and hear the call to do something, anything, no matter how reckless. On the other hand, the elites who have been ignored by us too long sense it also, but don't have a clue to just how close their world is to total upheaval. Somewhere in between hangs our republic. Maybe we need someone to send them an email reminding them who they are and what they're supposed to do. I wouldn't count on them reading it, though, or doing anything about it. This is John Matthews for Moments of Madness. All right, hey, we're back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, mad prophet of the airways, along with my co-host, Joe, you can't handle the truth, Hakos. We've got with us right now Patricia Dixon, who writes for the American Thinker. I met Patricia a couple weeks ago at the opening of Deborah Pauly's campaign headquarters down there in Irvine, Tustin area. Deborah Pauly, who's been on the show, good friend of ours, actually was a co-host on our show for a while, running for the state assembly down there, I believe it's 65th district. And I met Patricia in the room with all the goodies on the table and everything, and we got discussing politics. And I found her to be very articulate, and I thought I would have her on the show here because she has achieved something I've never been able to do. I've never been able to get the American Thinker to accept any of my articles, so I'm wondering how you even did that. How are you doing tonight, Patricia?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. I was going through your list of the many articles that you've written for the American Thinker, and the one that caught my eye right off the top is a theme that we've been talking about here on the show for a while. I have called it, or I've labeled it, the Gruber theorem, the stupidity of the American voter.
Yeah. Yes.
And we've talked about how this is played into, especially has become extremely evident during this election cycle, that we have who we have right now, looking at being the presumptive nominees on both sides of the aisle, Donald Trump on the for the GOP, and of course Hillary Clinton on from the DNC. And I was enthralled by your article, and I wanted to start out by asking you what inspired you to pen that article about. It was called "Americans Are Void of Critical Thinking Skills." I'd like you to expound on that.
Well, this has been going on for years. It didn't just start here recently. But when you are in discussing politics, especially with people or anything, they don't seem to be able to connect the dots. They seem to be able, they get all the information from the media, okay, and then they just accept it. They don't question it or anything. And then when you provide them proof, they still don't get it. Because the problem is the false premises. Everything is presented to you, first of all, as a false premise, and then you build on that. And then you come up with a false conclusion, and then they run with it. The problem is they don't ever question it and say, well, how, what, when? And so that bothers me. And this is not just young kids. These are grown people.
Right.
So, and I've gotten fed up because I talk to people all the time. And I think the problem starts in the education system, in the colleges, the universities. That's where it starts. Nobody is teaching anyone to think. And so...
Yeah, I agree 100%. I want to take it. I want to take it in this direction here because you said you hit the button on the head here. We can look at today's public education system, and it's like a sore thumb. You can look at it. You can listen to the professors that are teaching this stuff. The social engineering is taking place, and if you have the IQ of seaweed, you can see that. I mean, that doesn't take a whole lot of discerning to be able to look through the lines if you really want to. What you said, though, and this is what concerns me, is that people, I talk to a lot of people within my own age bracket who, by the way, didn't go to college, have been out there, for 30, 40, 50 years, out there, doing their thing and building their families and creating their bank accounts and everything else. And even these people sometimes, and I think Donald Trump is a perfect example of this, how do you look at the empirical evidence of what this man has proven to be the last 40 years and somehow come to the conclusion that he's a conservative simply because he tells you he's one? That just flabbergasts me.
Well, now I'm going to be up front with you. I am a Trump supporter, and I am not supporting him based on him being a conservative. I am supporting him based on his resume and the things. I think that he is the only one that is capable, because of his experience, to fix the problems. He's not running on conservatism. He's running on America first. He's running on illegal immigration and building a wall. You say, well, can he build the wall? Sure he can. I'm looking at what he's already built. I'm looking at his trade deals. He's upset with the way our trade deals, the deficits in our trade deals, how we're being screwed on this side. That's what he's running on. The conservatism part, everybody keeps arguing about he's not a conservative. He's not running as a conservative. He has been specific about what he's running on. Now, what exactly? And then you know what upsets me the most about it? No, he's not a conservative. But look what we did in 2010 and 14. We gave them the House. We gave them the Senate. And what happened? Who is a conservative then? What is the difference? We just funded a Planned Parenthood after we found out that they were selling baby parts. That didn't stop them. We have a $10 trillion debt in the past 7.5 years with a Republican House and a Republican Senate. What is the difference? So why all of a sudden we were worried about who's a conservative? We've been deceived so much, I don't believe anybody is.
Well, I understand. See, that you just presented to me the normal argument that I get about Donald Trump, and I'm not anti-Trump. I'm more concerned about not what Trump is or not what he wants to do or whether he'll be able to do what he says he's going to do. What concerns me is that how so many people that I've known that have been so staunch conservatives, and they have this template. This is a litmus test. This is what we look for in a conservative. And yet, when it comes to Donald Trump, a lot of that is just tossed aside because of what? Because we want a wall and we want better trade deals. What about the moral fabric of the country, which Trump shows no interest in whatsoever?
Okay, well, this is my other argument. Where were all these people when Obama was running? Okay, Trump didn't ruin the moral compass. Obama has. He's the one that ushered in, he turned over in the military, able to serve, openly in the military. He's the one that's behind all this forcing this same-sex marriage. None of that was happening. They were trying to do it, but he gave it fuel when he got in office. Nobody said a word, not even the pastors of the churches. I was upset with them. I've told them about it. They were silent.
Right.
Now they're saying, let's get rid of this devil. Here comes this devil Trump. Trump is the devil? Trump is the one evil? Why didn't you say that when in 2008 and 12? They were cowards. They didn't say a word. They were worried about being called a racist. They were worried about their tax-exempt status. Now they're safe because Donald Trump is a white man, and he's a Republican. So we can call him the devil, and we can say all that. But it's a little too late, isn't it?
Oh, I agree with you 100%, and I'm not inferring that Trump is the devil. I think that's John Boehner. But
no, he was calling Cruz Lucifer. But the thing is, you're talking about the moral fabric. You're talking about that. Well, how is it Donald Trump is going to ruin the moral fabric when it's been ruined already?
Well, see, now, and I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm trying to get the dialogue here at a level that most of our listeners will relate to it, and you're doing very good with that. But let me present that same question to you in terms of where were the Trump supporters back in 2008 when Barack Obama was running?
Yeah, I mean, I was very vocal about my objection. I was vocal about everything because we went down his list. Obama never tried to hide really too much about what he stood for as far as abortion and all that stuff, and then he lied about how he felt about same-sex marriage, and then he evolved right before the next election, of course. But nobody, what was the outrage? That's what I'm getting at.
Oh yeah,
now all the conservatives are outraged because of Trump. Trump didn't do any of that. He wasn't a politician.
No, I agree with you 100%. I mean, in fact, probably the thing I rant the most about on this show is the decline of the influence of the church when it comes to politics and the electoral process.
Exactly.
We wouldn't have this problem if the church was doing what it was supposed to be doing. If they were more concerned with kingdom business than they are church business, we'd be better off. But I'm dealing with things as they are the reality of what we're looking at right now. And I wonder... Trump has done some good things in terms of voter turnout. He's got people joining the Republican Party just to vote for him. He's got people switching parties. My question is, where were these people when Barack Obama was running? Why weren't they so incensed and pissed off then?
Because a lot of them were Democrats. See, Obama, going back to the critical thinking, Obama promised them all this stuff with no specifics. Change. And all he did was made it worse. Now people are realizing, well, we don't have our jobs. All our jobs are overseas. So all it took, this is what's so, I've told people this over and over again. They said, well, how come the Republican Party can't get the black vote? Why won't they go into the neighborhoods? Well, I said, that's not what they need to do. They just need to speak to what people need. Donald Trump didn't have to go into the black neighborhood. All he said was this: I'm going to bring your jobs back from overseas. Right. That's all he said. He's going to get 40% of the black vote just by saying that. I'm going to build a wall. I am going to deport these illegals because they're competing for your jobs. That's all it takes to tell black people that. You don't have to go and hang out and eat fried chicken with them. You don't have to do that. And that's all Trump did, and look what happened.
Yeah.
So I'm saying the reason you said, well, where are all these people in 2008?
Well, I
think. But when somebody makes it simple and plain.
I totally agree with what you're saying in terms of what the nerve that Trump has hit. Bernie Sanders on the other side has done the same thing. He's hit that disenfranchised. Of course, he's hit the college crowd, which are all the I don't know what you were like in college, but I know when I was in college, I thought I knew everything, and that's part of being a college kid is you hit puberty. And the parents aren't around anymore, and all of a sudden you think you know what's going on. And he's tapped into another element of society that is feeling very cast away and very uninformed and everything else. So I give these guys credit and major kudos that they've been able to tap in and change the narrative. That's how I look at things. I look at things, the left has controlled the narrative. The establishment on the right has controlled their narrative. Every election cycle, you need to keep us in power so we can do all the things that conservatives want, and then they don't do anything. That kind of stuff. I'm just more concerned with the process of how the voter thinks and how they were so. Where were they? Why were they not incensed when somebody like Barack Obama was out there? As you said accurately, Obama never hid from us what he wanted to do. He wanted to fundamentally transform the United States of America. He said that. And nobody caught it. Nobody discerned what he meant by that. Everybody thought, oh, yeah, it's going to be free stuff, as you said, that kind of stuff. It's not. No, we're going to change the whole ideological foundation of the country, and we're going to head into socialism, Marxism, and all the other hybrids out there, and we're going to get the government is going to run everything, and everything's going to be the collective. The collective will become God. That's.
Oh, well, listen at this. You think that's bad? Okay, he told 26 different lies about. They played it on a montage of his videos. You can keep your doctor. You can keep this. You remember that? Okay. You know how they played that back and forth. Do you know that people still to this day, they've lost their. These are people that have jobs. They've lost their health insurance because it skyrocketed, their premiums. These people have children. They have a job. Right. But the premiums went up to like $2,000. Right. They can't afford it. They still have not connected that to Obama.
Yeah,
when they talk to me about how this is bad, and then they say, this is the Affordable Care Act. I said, it's the Obamacare.
Yeah.
I said, and Obama did this to you. Look at his poll numbers. They're still up in the 50s. What does that tell you?
I've got to interrupt you here. It's time for our break here. We got to run our break. We'll be right back. We have Patricia Dixon, who writes for the American Thinker. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go.
State Talk Radio, WRS Cleveland.
Hey, I'll make you a deal. Give me 60 seconds and I'll give you directions to the Fountain of Youth. Okay, I'm joking. Well, kind of joking. No fountains, but youth, I got. Nature's Youth and their premier anti-aging product, Nature's Youth RSF. With your sensible diet and exercise plan, Nature's Youth RSF can help you look and feel better. RSF is an all-natural amino acid supplement that supports your body to naturally increase HGH levels without any synthetic hormones. And elevated HGH levels can contribute to increased energy, improved libido, reduced body fat, and improved exercise capacity. Let's be honest. Who doesn't want to look and feel younger? Visit the newly designed website at naturesyouth.com or call 800-333-6923. That's 800-333-6923 and like them on Facebook and you'll be included in contest and exclusive offers. What a deal. Oh, speaking of deals, my time's about up. 800-333-6923 or naturesyouth.com. Who needs a fountain anyway? Call today.
Expand your life with Expandovite.
When I had a heart attack at 42, I was not sure what the future held. But a year later, the doctors could find nothing wrong with me and took me off all my medication. What did I do? I took a herbal mixture of garlic, cayenne, and a few other herbs mixed in liquid form. I now call this Extendovite. I would have never believed that a few simple herbs could actually change my life like they did. Now it's your turn to see what the powers of garlic and cayenne can do for you. For only $69.95 plus shipping and handling for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid, you too can begin on your path to better health. For more information, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Expand your life with Expandovite.
I've owned my company for 14 years now, and I can tell you that payroll is a 4-letter word. I hate doing it. It eats up hours I don't have, and it costs me money I could be saving. But my accountant's too expensive, and I'm not sure who to call, but I know I need help.
We're Paychex, and we take all the hassles out of small business payroll. We save you time and money. It's easy. Call, fax, or give us your payroll information securely online, and we take care of the rest. We calculate the correct taxes, manage payments and direct deposits. We even send out your checks. Payroll doesn't need to be a 4-letter word anymore. We're so sure that we can save you time and money that we'll give you a month's payroll free. Just for calling 877-663-3830. Get 1 month's payroll for free. Call Paychex right now. 877-663-3830. That's 877-663-3830.
Do you use the blue pill to charge your sex life? Have you been thinking about trying the blue pill? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 a pill for the other pills, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pill delivers the exact same results for less than $3. We'll do the math for you. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. Want more? We'll give you 40 blue pills or 40 yellow pills for $99 and add 4 more pills free. You save more than $500 $100. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know what to do next. You need to call and get your 44 pills for just $99. Stop overpaying for the other blue pills. Call us and start saving a ton of money for the exact same results. Ordering is fast and easy with your pills delivered to your door in a non-marked package. 800-814-5188. 800-814-5188. 800-814-5188. That's 800-814-5188.
Hey, Bugsy, you hear the news about Vinny?
Yeah, it's a real shame. He owed money to the IRS and they finally cut up with him.
Just like Al Capone.
If the IRS can get to Capone, imagine what they can do to little old Vinny, huh?
Poor cat, he was on top of the world. Then bada boom, bada bing.
What Vinny needs now is an offer he can't refuse.
Hey, you got a tax problem? Does the IRS claim you owe them a bunch of dough? They can get you too. So call the tax relief line now and learn if you qualify to negotiate your $10,000 plus IRS tax debt for up to a 75% savings. Don't be like Al or Vinny and get busted. Make this free call now. Learn how you may be able to pay the IRS less.
Call now. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474.
Hey, welcome back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, and I'm your host, John Matthews, along with my co-host, Joe Hakos. We have Patricia Dixon with us, who writes for the American Thinker. Patricia, I want to get back to your article here because I'm interested in hearing. You present the problem very, very articulately, very, very accurately. And I want to read you just a couple lines right out of your article here, and then I wanted to ask you to comment on this. You say, why is it imperative for the citizenry to be able to think critically? Because the mainstream media has abandoned its responsibility of reporting facts. That's one reason. Two, the public education system, also run by liberals, has dumbed down the quality of education. I don't even believe education exists anymore. I think it's more like social engineering. And then you go on to say, for these reasons, individuals must master the ability to think critically in order to navigate through the lies and distortions coming from the mainstream media so that we can elect people based on his or her record of accomplishments, stance on important issues, and the substance of his or her rhetoric. I want to know, in your opinion, how do we do that?
Asking questions. Okay, every time you hear, and I have been mentoring a cousin of mine. She has a PhD and she teaches college, okay? And she didn't even know how to think critically. So every time she would come to me with a question, I would ask about a statement she's gotten from the media. I would ask her a question, and she said, well, I didn't think of that. And I told her, I said, anytime you hear anything, you need to ask what, when, how, and why. I say, lies cannot stand up under questioning. They can't. I say most lies will fall apart once you do that right there.
Okay, because see, I agree with your answer, but I don't know about you, but I find when I talk to most liberals that they can't even process the information in such a way to even ask a question. It's kind of like I'm trying to pinpoint here because whatever happens here, obviously you're talking about some type of reformation. There has to be a reformation of the thinking process. There has to be. I believe that what we have to do first is the political arms of what's going on in the country. Those of us out here who do know how to take something and interpret it based on what is evidence, what is fact, and what is truth, and be able to articulate it in such a way that it, the light kind of goes on in the heads of the people that are listening to it. But we're, without sounding arrogant, trying to sound arrogant, we're few and far between. So what I'm looking at here is on a mass scale. I mean, we're a divided country, pretty much 50% liberal, 50% some kind of mix of conservatism, moderatism, independentism, whatever you want to put on it. I have found most conservatives, this really scares me. This is where I really became concerned about it. I've asked conservatives to define conservatism to me, and nobody's come close yet. It's like, no, I watched the debate. There was one debate where every candidate was asked to define conservatism, with the exception of Jeb Bush, because they were being soft on him. But everybody else, they were asking, what is conservatism? And Trump came the closest. He started out good. He said, well, conservatism means to conserve, and then he went off on something else. And I thought, no, not even close. Not even close to what conservatism is. And there's, to me, the problem. When you talk to liberal, define to me liberalism. They don't even know what that means. Democratic socialists. That's like Finland. Okay, well, what's Finland like? Well, I don't know. People get free stuff. They get free health care and, all that. Well, do you know that Finland pays 70% of their income in taxes to get all that? That kind of stuff. And so everything is sound bites and talking points. How do you get beyond that? When you're talking with people and you get that kind of rhetoric from people, how do you get beyond it?
Well, like I say, it is frustrating, and you want to grab them and bang their heads up against the wall. I mean, that's the main thing. But you have to question them. I always ask, how do you know that? Give me some proof of that. Yeah. Explain that. I do that all day long, even on Twitter. And I get, every time I send out a tweet, because it's so logical, because I'm just a logical person, I get tons of followers. Each tweet I get about 20 followers. They say, and they tell me I'm brilliant. Well, it will make you get, a big head. But this is not brilliance. It's really disappointing, because if this is brilliant, then we're in a bad shape.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, now when we get to, as the election cycle starts here, the general election cycle starts here. One of my big beefs with Trump, and I'm not saying this to pick on Trump. I'm just saying this because this is how I think the conversations are going to go down when he and Clinton stand on the stage against, looking at each other in the face. It's going to be, Hillary Clinton. Well, what are you? Well, I'm a progressive that wants to get things done. Trump, who are you? I'm the guy that's going to build the wall, and I'm going to build it so big, and it's going to be so great, and it's going to look so good, and somebody else is going to pay for it, and it's just going to be great. Okay, now how are we going to get beyond that? How are we going to get to for instance, I'd like Donald Trump to explain to me, how is he going to get Congress that doesn't want him in office to cooperate with him? That's a simple question. I want to, and nobody's asked him that question. How are you going to...
He even yesterday, though, he was saying that he did several interviews, and he was saying that he wanted a VP that knew how to get things through and work with. He says, I'm a businessman. I don't know anything about how to do the political part. He says, that's why I want a VP that knows the whole process, how to work with Congress, how to get laws passed and all that. But he admits it.
Okay, so now let's take it in that direction here, because this has been our conversation for the last 2 days. Joe and I both believe, we're in total agreement here, that Trump is going to have to do one of two things. He's going to have to pick a VP that's going to pander to the establishment, or he's going to have to pick a VP that's going to pander to the conservatives. Who do you see on his ledger as being the person he wants?
I'd say Newt Gingrich. I think Newt was an awesome...
Newt Gingrich?
Yeah, he was an awesome speaker.
We've floated his name here too. I would think that personally, not a bad choice. Not a bad choice. I'm not really sure right now who I would really want, but Newt Gingrich would certainly be in there. He'd be, if I had to pick, he'd be on the short list.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know Jeff Sessions is on his team. I don't know Jeff Sessions' record as far as working with Congress, and the reason I'm just so impressed with Gingrich, because he was able to get, welfare reform. Remember, he did an awesome job. He saved Clinton's presidency, really, if you think about it.
Yeah. Well, I have thought about it, and I want to pose one question here. I'm kind of playing the devil's advocate with you. Newt Gingrich was a Speaker of the House during the Clinton administration. And Clinton gets a lot of credit for what took place during his administration, though I personally believe he rode the coattails of Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was the one that set everything up, and by the time it all kicked into high gear, Clinton was the one sitting in the White House. He got a lot of credit for that. And I handed to Newt Gingrich that he was very, very adequate and very qualified to do what he did when, having to deal with Clinton. But do you think the possibility also exists that Newt Gingrich with Bill Clinton could have been possible that these two were actually laying the foundation for the increase in government spending that we're now dealing with today?
You know what? During that time, I wasn't really that smart and keen with politics, so I would hope not. But I would really hope not, because I've really been what I have been told was that it was George Herbert Bush that got this stuff started.
Well, we do have to concede that during the Clinton administration we did have a balanced budget. But there's also indicators that show that even though we had that balanced budget, that the uptick of spending on the government level increased immensely. So in some respects, they balanced the budget, they stayed within their means, but there was also a massive increase in government spending, which means government was expanding, and maybe that was the compromise. We'll expand the government because you're the president, you're a liberal, you're in the White House, but we will set parameters and limits as to how much we'll spend on it. And Clinton was smart enough to say, yeah, that sounds like a good deal. Can't beat that with a stick. So that's just my take on it. That's not to take anything away from Newt Gingrich, because he is a very articulate person. He knows how to articulate conservatism, and I'd concede that. I wouldn't be upset with that at all.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're at the end of our time here with you, Patricia. I do want to have you back. I'd like to call you up and have you come on periodically and to talk about some of the things. Even now with this election cycle going the way it is, I think it's going to be a very dirty, messy election cycle here. And I'm looking for all the voices out there to help me keep my sanity as we go through this thing. Because there's some days I just want to rip the 3 hairs I got left in my head out.
Oh, yes.
But I wanted to give you an opportunity to plug whatever it is you're doing so that people can find you.
Okay. And also, I have my own blog. When you were talking about the church and how it has failed to do its job, that's mostly what my personal blog is. It's patriciascornerblog.com. And if you go, so that's what I rant and rave about in all my articles on my personal blog, is how the church failed to do its job, worrying about tax exempt and this, that, and the other. And that's where we are, because they rammed same-sex marriage down our throat without any opposition from the church. You noticed that, right? There was no opposition.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And so we can't complain, because we haven't done our job as Christians. We have not. And that's why they were able to do so much. So that's it. I just have a personal blog, patriciascornerblog.com.
Okay. I really appreciate you coming on, Patricia. I do want to have you back, and we'll be in contact with you. And we'll put the link up on our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, so you can reach Patricia's blog. It's patriciascornerblog.com, and we'll put it up on our website so you can find it. Those of you out there listening don't have a pen or pencil in your hand, or maybe liberals who haven't learned how to copy and paste yet. Okay, so we're happy to have you on, Patricia. I really appreciate it. God bless you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. God bless. Okay, guys. Where are we at here? Oh, commercial time. We'll be right back, guys. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. What she told us was what she said. I haven't been around that long. Okay.
Well, she said she didn't really pay attention to it that much back then.
Yeah, and you know that's not uncommon today.
No,
it really
not
isn't.
at all.
It's much more common than it is uncommon. Most of the people I talk to today are like that. They're like, I was never involved in this. I never got involved in politics until this happened.
Yeah, well, until Trump came along is what I hear most now. Now, let's hope that just because the Trumpster's there, he's not going to be around forever. Let's hope they stay involved now and get even more people involved.
Yeah, well, I here, timelines. This is what I get from most people I talk to. They became politically active after 9/11. 9/11 was something that triggered something. They're like, oh, my God, there's something going on. Some of them after that, it was the Obama election. When Obama came on the scene, all of a sudden I realized I had to do something. And now we have the Trump phenomenon.
Yeah.
And so we have, little by little, we've had these segments of the population coming into the electorate for one reason or another. Not all the same reasons, and not all leaning the same way.
Yeah.
But we've had them come in. And so that, in a way, that kind of gives me some hope that perhaps somewhere down the line here, reason begins to kick in, and we do become more of return more to a unified country in terms of thinking that, I like Trump's mantra, America first. I like that much more than let's make America great again, because I don't really think that America is not great. I think, we have some problems, but I would still take this country over anything else that's out there.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So I've been around the world. I've been in some of these countries. And I can tell you, nothing makes you appreciate being an American more than to sit in humidity, in 100-degree humidity, with rain coming down in a third world banana republic. I tell you, it sobers you up real fast. And, it is what it is. So, anyway, I just hope you enjoyed that. I'll probably have Patricia back on, because her art, she's written a lot. In the short time she's been involved in politics, she's written a lot. I looked at her list. She's probably got 40, 50 blogs out there just for the American Thinker. And I can tell you that's an accomplishment. I have tried to get the American Thinker to accept some of my work. And they look at your stuff. They come back and they correct grammar. If your grammar isn't exactly what they want. See, I write like I talk. I don't always put things in proper grammatical style. I talk like I write and talk the same way. And so, I remember submitting articles to them, and they come back and say, well, the grammar here. And I'm like, well, the grammar doesn't matter. That's the point of what I'm saying. But they don't look at it that way. So that kind of thing. Anyway, where are we at here? We got, about 6-7 minutes left before we get to the end of the show here?
Yeah, barely that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Well, Well, Joe, what's on your mind? You were pretty quiet during all that interview, so I'm constantly sequestering you. It seems these days. What's bugging you lately?
Well, like I said, I'm looking at our friends over across the Atlantic there, and our friends over in Britain are going to have they're a month away from having an election, whether or not they're going to stay as part of the European Union, and that's very telling, and you don't hear anything about that over here. Mm-hmm. And I find it hard to believe. I mean, it is very telling. It is, and I'm here to tell you, next year in Europe, across Europe, there's going to be much upheaval politically because of the refugees that their governments have allowed unfettered access to their entire societies. I mean, they just given them free reign. And to if you say anything bad like in Cologne over New Year's, you had all those rapes and everything done by gangs of these refugees, quote unquote refugees. Mm-hmm. If you said anything about it, that was deemed hate speech by the government.
Yeah. Well, along with that, you mentioned something I believe last week. There's a real political uprising going on over in Germany right now. Merkel's on the way out, it sounds like.
Well, I mean, she has opposition, and in fact, the Alternative Deutschland Party, I think is what it's called. And these people, to the point, they're like, hey, we're going to build a wall. We're not going to have. They're going to put a ban on minarets, basically mosques. Then they don't want, no burqas, that kind of stuff. They're definitely against this basically Muslim invasion that's taken over their country, and so Merkel's like trying to get her friends to say that's unconstitutional. You can't be saying it's against the German constitution to even have a political organization like this, like that, and their retort was, no, what you were doing to us this past a couple years, Angela, has been unconstitutional. And so, like I said, you're going to see some big uprising going on in Europe right now, this summer and all the way through next year, because that's when some elections are coming up. So it's going to be fun to see over there. We should really pay attention to that, because I would say that the Europeans are about, 4 or 5 years ahead of us in this particular process. And if we want to have, like I said before, we want a crystal ball, look over there, because what's happening over there will happen here if we don't stop it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Where, I don't know if I can stress enough the importance of this election, what's coming down this election cycle, and that's, I think, the scariest part of it, because I can't remember in my lifetime having two choices like we have.
Yeah, so stark and different. But it was really nice to hear Patricia, someone that we hadn't talked to before, kind of reaffirming the things we've been saying the past week on the show.
Yeah, and I totally get the Trump narrative. It's become a narrative. The idea that this guy says what people want to hear. He says it the way that they say it. He's tapped into the anger element. He's ignited or incited, depending on what side of the aisle you're coming from. Mm-hmm. All those things are good towards the electoral process that takes place in this country every 2 and 4 years. So in that regard, you got to hand it to him. The same with Bernie. I have a lot of respect for a guy that's able to come out off the cuff. This is what I am. No, I'm not an American. I'm a socialist. But by the way, I know there's a bunch of you out there that think like I do. And to tap into that. And to not compromise. He has not shifted his positions one iota, where we've watched Hillary Clinton flipping
everything.
Flip everything.
Mean he's right.
Yeah, she flips like a hotcake,
yeah, well.
yeah.
I don't want to even go there.
Okay, well, we're coming up to the end.
To leave our listeners.
Yeah, we're coming up at the end of the show. For those of you listening to us on Red State Radio and out there at High Plains Media. And we'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday? Yeah, good old Friday. We'll be back tomorrow. God bless you all. We love you. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to us. Visit us at the ConservativeSyndicate.net. Good night. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all of our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's the conservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best and uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, signing off until next time, right here on the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.